share in the national TV revenues, local TV revenues, ticket sales, arena naming rights deals, merchandise sales, concessions, parking, and arena sponsorships, and activations are among the revenue generators of an NBA team. These are important requisites for a team to flourish, for a team to continue to increase its valuation. As sports franchise values continue to rise because of rising sports rights, many former NBA owners have made a windfall from selling their teams. Former Senator Herb Kohl bought the Milwaukee Bucks from Jim Fitzgerald in 1985 for $18 million and sold it for $550 million to New York hedge fund investors Wes Edens and Mark Lasry in 2014. Michael Jordan purchased the Charlotte Hornets from Bob Johnson in 2010 for $275 million and then sold it just recently for $3 billion to the duo of Gabe Plotkin and Rick Schnall. Mortgage executive Matt Ishbia became the new majority owner of the Phoenix Suns after purchasing the majority shares of Robert Sarver for $4 billion. Current NBA owners, meanwhile, were getting annual shares from NBA media rights deal from ESPN and Turner Sports. And that's what makes Ozzy and Daniel Silna's story even more fascinating and impressive. In practice, every month over the lifetime of past media agreements, someone from the NBA's finance department accumulates the disbursement and divides it up to be sent out to 31 recipients. But why 31 when there are only 30 teams in the league? Well, the extra check was going into the Silna brothers' pockets for years courtesy of a sweetheart deal that they made in the aftermath of the NBA-ABA merger in 1976. They have been receiving checks from the NBA without even owning a team and have been the bane of the owner's existence for decades. But how does this happen? 1967 saw the launch of the American Basketball Association, a shaky but promising league that went head-to-head against the more established NBA. The ABA was popular but struggled financially due to a lack of TV revenues. Prospective owners were able to pick up an ABA team at a fraction of its cost. That's when the Silna brothers, flush with cash from the sale of their textile business, bought a struggling team, the Carolina Cougars, for $1 million in 1974. It was later renamed the Spirits of St. Louis after the brothers moved the team to Missouri. They tried purchasing the Detroit Pistons 2 years earlier, but it ended up in the hands of former longtime owner William Bill Davidson. The new pride of St. Louis went 32-52 in their inaugural year, leading to their upset of the New York Nets at the playoffs before losing to the Kentucky Colonels for the Eastern Division title. Despite some success on the court, attendance at the Spirits' 18,000-seat arena cratered, and the team was lucky to draw even 1,000 fans to their games. The brothers considered relocating the team to Salt Lake City, though, at that point, the ABA was already on the verge of financial collapse. Tired of competing with the innovative and dynamic ABA, who played with the tricolored basketball and introduced the three-point line, the NBA decided to merge with the fledgling league. When merger talks began in the summer of '76, the Silnas already had leverage with the NBA by having all-star Moses Malone, Marvin Barnes, and future two-time champion Michael Carr in their lineup. They also had a young Bob Costas as their local play-by-play announcer in his first job out of college. Of the remaining 7 ABA teams, only 4 were absorbed into the expanded NBA: the New Jersey Nets, Denver Nuggets, Indiana Pacers, and San Antonio Spurs. The 3 that were left out, the Virginia Squires, the Kentucky Colonels, and the Spirits of St. Louis, were offered buyouts to disband. The owner of the Colonels, John Brown, accepted a $3.3 million payout, but the Silna brothers had other plans. They weren't prepared to walk away quietly and felt they were entitled to a piece of the NBA that the other 4 teams were granted. With the help of Don Shupak, their shrewd and visionary lawyer, they negotiated a $2.2 million cash payment plus 1/7 of future TV revenues. 1/7 was a representation of the 7 teams playing when the merger happened. And here's the greatest part: Shupak added a kicker to the contract, which was inconsequential at the time but made all the difference decades later. The kicker specifically stated that the agreement stays in place for as long as the NBA or its successors continues in existence. In perpetuity. The formula of the Silna's share amounted to 4-7, representing the 4 that was absorbed by the NBA out of the 7 ABA teams, or 1/7 from each of the Nets, Nuggets, Spurs, and Pacers. And since NBA clubs were earning just $500,000 a year from TV rights at the time because cable was still in its infancy and games were mostly shown on tape delays, it became an afterthought for most teams since the Spirits would have collected just $286,000 in 1976. Exasperated and eager to close the merger before the start of a new season, the NBA went along with the brothers' demands. But nobody predicted the league to explode in the 1980s and 1990s. The arrival of Larry Bird, Magic Johnson, and most importantly, Michael Jordan changed everything. It has lifted the league to new heights, ushering in a new era of hoops fandom and all the dollars behind it. Broadcasting deals with the TV networks ballooned from $74 million for 4 years in 1978 to $601 million for 4 years in 1990. To $2.4 billion for 6 years in 2002. Cable brought in another $2.2 billion in 2002 for a total of $4.6 billion for 6 years. In 1981, the first year of the brothers' eligibility, they made $522,000. In 2000, their cut was $10 million. In 2011, $17.5 million. In 2012, $18.5 million. And in 2013, $19 million. They were writing an annuity equivalent to 2% of the NBA's TV money. What's more, they were collecting for a phantom team that had no payroll, no operating expenses, and no marketing budget. Their total accumulated earnings by 2014 reached $300 million, and there was no expiration date. But wait, there's more. Because the language in the original contract covered all visual media revenues, the Silnas took the NBA to court in 2012 over money earned from sources that were non-existent in 1976, like international broadcast rights, internet rights, and cable rights. A federal judge sided with the brothers and ruled that the league had to pay to cover incremental revenues from the last years and increase royalties in the future. The NBA had enough. The league was in the middle of negotiations for a new broadcasting deal, which is 3 times larger than the previous one. The NBA, which has long wanted to end the Silna's sweet deal, decided to pay the brothers with a lump sum payment of $500 million in 2014 to make it all go away. All in all, the Silna brothers took home $800 million worth of NBA royalties. Shupak, who received 10% of the brothers' revenues, took in $80 million in total. But the NBA ended up a winner too. $500 million might sound like an enormous amount when they did the deal in 2014, but it will be a pittance compared to the upcoming 11-year $76 billion media rights deal that the league did with ESPN, NBC, and Amazon. The Silna brothers' annual cut would have increased exponentially had the NBA did not put a stop to it. In the end, it still turned out to be a win-win for both parties. But that astute business maneuver put the Silna brothers in the annals of sports history for making the greatest sports deal ever told.